Welcome to an Otis College of Art and Design digital printmaking tutorial. Today we're going to be covering trapping. What is trapping and how to apply trapping while creating our artwork to improve our printing, as well as how to black out our layers to prep for printing. So first, let's define trapping. Okay, if I come up to this circle over here, if we need to print this blue fill with a yellow outline around it, we can easily misalign, giving us imperfect results, which are not ideal. But by giving us a little extra wiggle room with our bottom fill layer, if we repeat the same mistake, we still have a better chance of success than, being untrapped like in this circle. Trapping is to make registration easier, as well as help us printers with things we can avoid, like paper shrinkage in between layers. So for that transparent yellow layer, we're going to add a trap. So we're going to go to that layer and first select all of it by going to our quick selection tool up here. We can make our size relatively large, and we're just going to highlight all of that information. And if we zoom in, we can see that the fill is really hugging our line art pretty tightly, or our key layer pretty tightly, and we definitely want to give us more trapping room. So we're going to do that by going to Select, Modify, and Expand. And how much you expand by is really depending on your piece. What you really want to ensure is that your trapping doesn't go over your key layer. You don't want it spilling out the other side. So typically you want to go for either 1 point or 3 point. In this case, I'm going to do a 3 point. All right. Okay. And if we zoom in, we can see that we've given ourselves a lot more room for that trapping. And since we want to start converting these layers for printing, I'm going to start blacking them out. And we can do that by going to Edit, Fill, and then we're just going to set our contents for black and hit OK, just like so. When you're converting your layers to black for printing, I also, at this point, want to highly recommend color coding your layers. Once everything is all black, it starts to really blend together, and you can do that by right-clicking on your layer and picking one of these color labels from the drop-down. Okay, so I'm going to do the exact same process to this blue layer, and then we're going to move on to blacking out our line art layers, especially our yellow key layer. When I make colored line art, I usually make a layer mask like this. So our yellow and blue layers, we're going to change them to black as well, just like how we did with the fills, but we're not going to expand them. So I'm just going to do that right now. And then holding down Option, I'm going to temporarily unlink these layers. This paper layer, I'm actually going to delete since we don't need a red background just right now. We're going to be converting everything to be black and white. And with this layer mask, I'm going to duplicate it so each color gets its own mask to link back to. And then I'm going to simply relink the layers. Now, underneath what I had just filled in black, I'm going to add a new layer and fill that with white on both of the masks. And basically what that's going to do is hide information I don't want. And And then we're just going to merge all three layers to create our final isolated color layer. In this case, this one is our blue layer, and then we have our yellow layer. And then again, we are going to color code them immediately to make our lives a lot easier. Then we're also going to hide our paper layer at the bottom that was filled in red. But the key to understanding these layers and really seeing their trapping is by setting them to multiply. So we highlight everything and then go from normal to multiply. Now we're back to everything looking really cohesive. And we can transparently see through our layers to get a better idea of our overlaps. And if we decrease the opacity of our trap layer, we can see that extra lip of trapping that's really going to save us in the end when we're printing. All right. So let's actually revisit our key layer. I'm going to lower the opacity of it just a little bit, as well as the opacity of our blue layers, which at this point we can actually merge together. Much easier. But we're going to definitely recolor code it and set it back to be multiply. So if we come on closer, we can see that our yellow key layer, it really does butt up against the blue pretty tightly. And since we can add trapping to a moment like this, but we don't need to expand in all directions of fill, what we're going to do is with a Wacom pen or with your computer mouse, we're actually going to draw in those subtler moments where we can have our yellow key overlap the blue elements. Just small details like that will really save us when we're printing. Little parts like this tongue. And so that's something to really keep in mind when you are prepping your file. You can expand in all directions, but sometimes trapping requires individual attention, where you're only really moving in one direction. So now we have our file completely blacked out and ready to be turned into positives. You can see our individual layers that we've created with our transparent yellow, our key layer, which is going to be our solid yellow, and then finally our blue elements. Make sure to check out our video on crop marks and registration to add the finishing touches to your file to get printing. Thanks so much for watching.